Hello everybody and welcome to Journal Auto YouTube channel. I have here on the channel another popular car from the C segment, the segments of the compact vehicles. So after we had on the channel the Golf, it was the 5th generation, but whatever. After we had the Astra J, now we have the 3rd generation of Ford Focus. And the model here that we have was produced in December 2017. So it was one of the last models to be produced because somewhere in 2018, in the first part of the year, the production ended and the 4th generation entered into production. This car, before the facelift, it was quite ugly, to be honest. I mean, the headlights were very ugly and the grille was also very ugly, and the car had a lot of design. You know, it had a lot of design cues. It was very, crowded there in the front. But in the facelift, it doesn't look better. Now it looks much, much better, and the ugly duck became a beautiful princess. Because now it has these Aston Martin style grille, the Ford badge was moved up, and the headlights have been modified completely. So now it looks very good, and this, I'm a man. What color is this? It's red, no? Burgundy, whatever. But in this car, it looks very, very well. The Ford Focus, this generation, was presented at the end of 2010 and started production and selling somewhere in the first part of 2011. So it was produced for 7 years, which is quite a lot for a car generation these days, where usually cars are being produced for 6 years, and lately many models have been produced for only 5 years. Now, Ford Focus has a lot of engines, but this car has the 1.0 turbo petrol EcoBoost engine with 125 horsepower. I was skeptical of these small engines on quite heavy cars. This car has 1330 kilograms, so it's quite heavy for such a small engine. But you will see later, if you stay with me until the end, when I drove this car, you will see how it feels. You will see if the engine has enough power. And I'm telling you that it was quite of a surprise. And from a skeptical guy with these small engines, I didn't become, a supporter of this type of engines. But you can call me now a semi-skeptical. I mean, you will see that this engine is better than I thought, but still it's quite small. Whatever. If you don't like this engine, you have plenty of engines to choose from in case of Focus. So now, let's go to see how this car looks. On the side, this car continues to look quite good, especially with those 17-inch alloy wheels. So the tires are 215 millimeters width. This part is 50, and the alloy wheels are 17-inch. What I like is that it has the turn signals, the side turn signals in the mirror, something that I'm missing in my Astra, because I don't like that it's in the wing, in the side wing. And when the Astra K was launched, I was hoping to have the turn signals in the mirror. It didn't, but now I think the new Astra L, it has. This is how the key looks. This is the key of the car. See, it's not an usual key. See? So you have to keep it all the time in your pocket. Now, I had a Ford Mondeo, 4th generation, and it had the same door handles. And for me, they seemed too heavy, too big. And it was sometimes hard to open the door. But this one, it's quite okay. But what I'm hearing is that, see, it is the same sound. Now I'm remembering it. And in the back, it's also easy to open the door, and it opens quite wide. It has a quite wide opening, but we will discuss more when we will talk about the inside, in the interior of the car. This is where you put the fuel, so it's somehow a little bit integrated with the tail light, and when you open it, it goes a little bit down. Okay, and in the back, the cars also suffered on the facelift some changes, because in the pre-facelift model, the tail light was a little bit bigger and also uglier, and now it's not beautiful, but it still looks quite good. And here we have LED tail lights. This is where you see it turned on. Otherwise, there are not too many changes in the back of the car. You see here the Eco Boost with a leaf and green, because this car has lower emission and wants to be green, and so on. And the back window, even if you don't see it because it's tinted, the back window it's quite big and you have quite good visibility, which is quite rare today on the modern cars that had some complicated design. Here we have the camera for when you are going in reverse. So it's very interesting, just that it gets dirty very easily in that position, but this is something that happens in many cars. We are now getting to the boot of the Focus, and here is where we have a big problem. And this is because the boot of the Focus, it's one of the smallest in the class, only 316 liters, while for example a Golf has around 380 liters, and even the estate version has only 476 liters, which is smaller than the average. Otherwise, the trunk is quite boxy, the load lip is not very big, so it will not be hard for you to take things from the boot. It has some hooks here, and they are not retractable like in the Astra, but Astra has only two, so this one has two on each side. And it has also these latches where you can put a lot of things in both sides. And what I like, it's that it has a spare wheel. Very few cars nowadays have a spare wheel. Usually they have a kit repair, a repair kit for the wheel, and I don't like that, because, for example, that kit, helps you for 10 minutes. But what if you are on the highway and there is no tire repairing shop in 10 minutes around? So this is one, it's much more helpful. So even if the Focus has a smaller boot, I appreciate a lot that it has a spare wheel. Now, if you fold the seats, and we will now fold the seat to see if we have a flat floor. Let's see. I'm folding it from here. Now, let's push this to the side. You see, it's not flat, but in the same time, it doesn't have here an area where it's higher so you can still push things to the front. But if let's also raise the seat, for example, like this, and then if you raise the seat, push it like this, you have a relatively flat floor, and the capacity goes up to 1,215 liters, so 12-15 liters. We are now inside the Focus, and we will start the interior review with the quality of the materials. On the dashboard, this is soft material and it's very pleasant to touch it, and it goes down, up, down until here. Now this is something like this material, something like a piano black, let's say, but not really a piano black, but it's very nice. But on the lower side, hard plastics, scratchy materials. On the door, only this part is somewhat nice to touch, soft material, but it's not, don't imagine that it's very, very soft like this one in the dashboard. It's a little bit harder, but also nice to touch. Otherwise, only this small part. Hard plastics, hard plastics, hard plastics, almost everywhere. But now, this is the thing, this is the situation. The glove box, it's quite big, but it has only a small light, but otherwise it's quite big, and this is what I like. You see that it's loaded and it's full here. However, a positive thing is that the door bins are very, very big, and you can fit there even a 2-liter bottle. And this is something that I appreciate, and bravo Ford. And before going inside, again, you can see there Sony speakers next to the window. Very interesting. Now, going here on the center console, there are very interesting things here. I like that it's covered first, because it keeps the curious eyes out of the sight. And when you go here, we can see here a storage space. Here, if you press it, if you press these things, you can move them, and with the help of them, you adjust the size of your, let's say, drink. If the drink is bigger, you can make it bigger. If it's smaller, you make it smaller. So this is something that I like. But not only this, see, here you take this off, and there is another storage space there that is deeper and hidden. Also, the armrest is very soft, and it has leather on it. And if you open it, you have this small storage space. Yes, but it's not only that. You can take this off, and you can see here a deeper storage space. But not only that, you have here a USB port, which is very, very nice, and a 12-volt socket. That this cover feels very quality, you know? It's very soft and very qualitative. I like how it opens. So, I like the practicality of this car, but it's not only that. When we go in the center console, you have here a storage space for different things, or for your phone, but if you don't have a bigger phone. If you have, nowadays there are quite big phones, so I don't think it will fit there. But also it's another USB port. So there are two USB ports. In my Astra I have only one. Bravo Ford. And again, another 12-volt sockets. And again, in my Astra I have only one. And with this cover that feels very soft and qualitative. Something that I like. This is the button for helping in parallel parking. See? Now you see it here on the side. And the indicator. And if you go on the reverse, this is the camera, and you see in the back, it's a little bit dirty now, but active park assist works, and it's a very nice touch. Here is the parking sensors to stop them, and the automatic start-stop system. I'm deactivating it every time in my car because I don't like it. Now, the climate control, it's very nice that it's on two areas, so you can control the temperature for the passenger separately for the one for the driver. This is something I like, and I like also these buttons because it has these this rubber on them, and they feel very nice to touch. Otherwise, you have buttons for the rear defog, for the front window defog, and so on. So something normal. What I don't like is that you can the temperature, it's being shown here down under, and while the ergonomy of the car is very good, and while you drive it's very easy for you to maneuver the temperature, you have to take your eyes to see what temperature it is. In my Astra, for example, even if I have buttons here, I can see the temperature on the screen, and it's in my sight, and I don't have to take my eyes off. But of course you can raise or lower the temperature without looking on that, and that's okay. The center console on the facelift model, it's nicer than on the pre-facelift one, because on the pre-facelift one, despite the fact that it was ugly, the design was ugly, it was very, very crowded with buttons, and it was an entire chaos there, and there were a lot of criticism for the center console of that car. In this one, they put this touchscreen multimedia system, which is Sync 3, happily, because Sync 2 was a disaster. And here I have the navigation, but there are other things here. You can go on audio, here, phone. It answers quite well. Navigation, for example, let's see. Yeah, quite good. Mobile apps, if you find mobile apps, but of course my phone is not connected here, and it will not connect because it's not my car. And you have Android Auto for having Waze on this. I don't have that in my Astra. Why, Opel? Why? I like Android Auto and I want Waze on the screen, and I don't want to change the car for that. But I don't have it. Ford has it, and I like this a lot. Otherwise, you see clock, sound, phone, Bluetooth, mobile apps for you to connect your phone, of course. So it's a very nice and intuitive system. Also here on the door mirror, here on the central mirror, you have, you know, a black, not say button, a black area there. That's because the mirror tints automatically, so it becomes darker automatically when outside is dark, and it detects headlights from the back. Other thing here, there is also the rain sensor. I think this car has also light sensors for the headlights. These ones, the mirror here has a light, an automatic light, something normal, but it's good to have. And here you have a storage space for your sunglasses, and they are very used. See, it goes very down, and it's very easy for you to take them and to put them there. What I don't like is that the inside lights of the car are not here, but somewhere here. That might have been okay, but it's only one light. For example, in my Astra, I have 4 lights in the front, 2 in the middle, 1 for the driver and 1 for the passenger. Here is only 1 for all in the front. So that's something that I don't like, but at least you can close it, and it's LED, and you know, you can see it that it's lit in blue. Everything in the car, it's blue and white, but when you click off, it becomes orange. That's something nice, a very nice touch. There are some features that Focus still also has here in the front. This is the start-stop engine button. So you only need to have the key in your pocket, and you press the clutch, and I guess also the brake, but the clutch is mandatory. Click on the engine and the car starts. Otherwise, you can set here how fast the wipers should clean the front window, but they are also automatically, something that I like. And here it's the trip computer. You control the trip computer from these buttons. If you click long OK, there are 5 lines that will fill, and once it's filled, it's reset. Now, if you go down, see, you will have here the speed electronically, and I like that it's colored. You also have here the odometer. What we have here, the average fuel, but of course it doesn't show because I just reset it. The instant fuel, the autonomy left, the time since the last reset, the average speed, and again the main info. And if you click here on the right or left, on right it doesn't work, but on the left you can select the second trip computer, different information, the settings of the car. And if you go on settings, you have here driver assist, different vehicle settings. Oh, of course, you use I think the right by doing like this. Yes, that's right. Auto engine off. So the start-stop system was deactivated, happily. My key display and other info, and I like that it's colored. And what I also like, let's go again on the trip computer 1, it's that it shows you the car here and what door is open, and the car is colored and not just, you know, something there painted in pixels. Down here, this is the front fog lights, back fog lights. Here you set plus minus the intensity of the light on the dashboard, and with this one you open your headlights, and see here it says A means automatically, so it has also automatic headlights. Here you can set your headlights if you want to raise them or lower them. But how do you do it? Well, you click on this and a button goes up, and then you switch this button and then you put it here back. And there is another storage space here, quite small but somewhat useful. This car also has, of course, electrically adjusted mirrors here, and then you also have 4 electric powered windows, and here you can close the door, and it also has automatic folding mirrors with this button. Nice. Let's now check the back seats, how it's in the back. So I'm 1.82 meters tall. That's, for the British, that's around 6 feet. The door opens it's quite the opening. It's quite large, and when I go on, let's see. So the front seat is pushed to the back for my height. So I'm 182, as I told you. I still have around 3.5 fingers for my knees. So quite spacious. It's quite similar with my Astra. In the Golf, I think it's a little bit more room. But because the seat is lowered, my knees hit a little bit this part, but not something, you know, that is very disturbing. Otherwise, hard plastics everywhere. But it's the same in the case of Astra, and even the 7th generation Golf has some hard plastics in the back. Just that in the Golf they are a little bit more qualitative, but still hard. But at least you have electric powered windows and door bins, because other cars don't have door bins in the back. And this is a 1 liter bottle, and you can fit it there. But this Focus has some features that others don't have in this class, meaning these two storage space here. This one, I don't know, you can put there your wallet or maybe your phone or even the bottle. Let's see, it stays like that. And even here you can fit in the bottle, especially a 1/2 liter bottle. So that it's very nice. And we also have pockets in the back seats. What I also like is that I have a lot of headroom. So I'm 182 tall and 5 finger, even more than 5 fingers. So very nice. And also we have an armrest. Come on. And the armrest has 2 cup holders. Yep. Very nice. But the central tunnel, it's quite big. And if you want to sit in the middle, a person like me, I can sit here for a short distance, but not for longer distance for sure. And here also there is a storage space, but just that. You don't have USB ports here, 12 volt sockets. You don't have that. Dacia Logi has. Dacia has 12 volt sockets in the back. This one doesn't. Neither the Astra. So shame on you, Ford and Opel. But otherwise it's quite practical. And the features that makes it stand out compared to other cars in this class are these 2 storage spaces. Let's now open the hood to see the engine, how it looks. But before that, you know that many cars have the latches, has the latch here that opens the hood, and you look for it and it's very hard to see. Sometimes like that, sometimes you push it like that. But here in the Ford you see it's yellow to see it, to be very visible for you. And just you click it like that and opens very, very easily. And this is the 1.0 turbo petrol engine. What is very curious for me is that this engine doesn't have a cover here, like most of the cars. This is how it looks, nothing special. We will drive it a little bit, you'll drive it immediately. But what I like here, you see, it says when it was produced, 13 July 2017 in Cologne engine plant, in Cologne, Germany. So this engine is it's not produced in Romania like other engines in my home country where we have a Ford factory, but this one is produced in Germany because we can consider the European Fords German cars because they are being developed and some of them even produced in Germany. And now let's go for a drive and stay with me until the end for the conclusions. So we are now driving the 1.0 turbo petrol engine EcoBoost of Ford Focus that develops 125 horsepower. I am skeptical of these small engines on quite big cars. After driving this engine, I'm still skeptical, let's say semi-skeptical, but it's better than I thought. I mean, look, now I'm in the 4th gear, I have 70 kilometers per hour. You will see on the screen this transformed in miles per hour, the conversion, and I have around 2200 RPM. And the car is not noisy. But what it's weird is that I'm in the 4th gear and the car is asking me to change in the 6th gear. That's weird. No, I'm not doing that. I will change in the 5th gear. In the city, you feel like you have enough power, you know, because the car is around 1200, 1300, somewhere there, kilograms heavy, and the engine has 125 horsepower. So the ratio between the weight of the car and the power, it's quite good, and that's why you don't feel that this car is underpowered. We are now 2 persons in this car, but of course if you load it a lot with, let's say, 4 people and luggage and so on, you might feel it a little bit underpowered. But this car is very good for driving inside the city, for driving around the city, and it's very good also for driving on the highway. I tested it earlier, and at 130 kilometers per hour, the fuel consumption was around 7.4 liters per 100 kilometers. It was quite noisy, not a little bit, it was quite noisy, but bearable. I have driven on highways noisier cars than this. So it is bearable and it's quite comfortable. The cameraman says that it doesn't feel very noisy. It was in the back. In the front, so it was a little bit more noisier. But just look at 80 kilometers per hour in the 5th gear, 2000 RPM, less than 5 liters per 100 kilometers fuel consumption, and the car feels quite silent around. It's very comfy also. In my Astra, which is in the same generation with this, I have better seats, way better, but you know, it feels quite good. It's quite comfortable, just that these seats are, I feel a little bit stiff. I was used with my seats in the Astra that it's like an armchair, but this one it's quite stiff. I like the lever of the gearbox because it feels quite sporty. The car, if you want to downshift and have power, forget it. With this engine, forget it. I mean, if you want to drive this car sporty and like in the rally, you don't have enough resources, even if it has 125 horsepower. Sadly, there are no resources, but this is understandable because after all, it's a 1.0 liter engine that has a turbine. It has a turbo on it. Otherwise, you can drive quite comfortably. And look, the steering wheel, it's quite stiff. It feels sporty. It offers a lot of feedback. Just look at this. I'm moving, just at the smallest move, the car responds. And I like that. You know all the time where the wheels are. So this steering wheel, it's not very electronically assisted. In fact, when you drive at higher speeds on the highway, it becomes stiffer for you to have full control over the steering wheel. And this is something that I like quite a lot. You know that Ford has a very sporty setting of the suspension, and this one is also, it's not quite comfortable. It's quite rigid, but this is with a car that has a sporty suspension. If you want a very comfortable car, you might do better to look at the Astra, because that car is floating on the bumpy roads. This one, no. If you have a sporty character and you like to feel the car to be more stiff and you like driving it, this might be for you. Not necessarily with this engine. You might look for other engines in this car, because there are plenty of other engines, petrol and diesel also. You saw now that I wanted to accelerate and it doesn't have a very fast acceleration. So in this class, I think the Focus and the Civic, the Honda Civic, are the ones who are the best for sporty driving. So if you are looking for this, just look for a Focus and for a Civic, but with a more powerful engine, let's say. Otherwise, it's a quite pleasant surprise, this engine. I mean, it's not that bad as I would thought it would be. And let's see how it will behave in the future, because this trend with the downsizing, it's only several years old. Some engines were not that reliable, others were. So we will see in the future how they will behave, because people were very mad when these engines were launched. This happens in Europe because of the emission norms of the European Union. Until now, the engineers did quite a good job, but of course, if you load this car a lot, the fuel consumption will be quite big. This car is very silent, not noisy at all, in the city at lower speeds, and it's that silent that I found myself forgetting to change from the second gear to third, because usually when you are in a lower gear, let's say the second gear, and the car goes 60 kilometers per hour, you can feel it like screaming. Not the case here. I was in the second gear with almost 60 kilometers per hour, and I was like, what gear I'm in, man? So yeah, at lower speeds, it's a quiet car, and this is what I like. Now, for city driving, this is a very nice car, and as I said, this engine is good for all. I mean, it's perfect for city, it's perfect for the country roads around the city, and if you want to take it to highways, it can do it. A little bit noisier, as you will see, but it can do it. But it's very comfy to drive it in the city. Just that the car, it's, let's say, not very big, but you feel it a little bit massive. But it's doable in the city. And a thing that I like is this steering wheel, that it's covered in leather, but not only covered in leather. It has here something like a sponge, and it feels very nice to your hands. So in the city, it has enough power, more than enough. Just that I was expecting with this turbo to sprint. For example, I'm in the second gear. I push the acceleration, it goes. But I was expecting, like a naturally aspirated engine, in the case of a naturally aspirated engine, petrol, when you accelerate, it responds immediately. This one feels like it has a turbo lag. Even if it's not that big, you can feel it. You accelerate and it doesn't respond immediately like in a naturally aspirated petrol engine. It works more like a diesel, because now all diesels have turbo, not like in the past when they were without a turbo. So in the way it behaves more like a diesel, this engine, than like a petrol engine. But in the same time, in the city, it has the quietness of a petrol engine. So here we are at the end of our presentation for the Focus. So what are the conclusions? So regarding the engine, I was skeptical. I'm still not convinced. I'm semi-skeptical, but Focus offers plenty of engines. So if you like this car, but also drive a lot, just look for a diesel. 1.5 diesel, it will be more than enough for you. If you want more power, look for more powerful petrol engines. But if you drive mainly in the city and you don't go too often on highways or outside the city, I think you can consider very well this 1.0 EcoBoost engine, because it's a quite powerful engine. You have a lot of resources, and even if it's not fast, you can easily go outside the city whenever you have these needs. What I also like on this Focus is that it has some practicality features that attracted me a lot, especially those in the back. And I also like the Sync 3 multimedia system, especially that it has Android Auto. For those who are looking for a sporty driving, you can well consider this, because it's one of the best in its class. I think only Civic rivals with the Focus in terms of driving pleasure. But if you are looking for comfort, I think you should look at other models in this class. But if you are a dynamic guy or dynamic girl and you want to feel the car, I think this would be very well a good fit for you, and maybe in red.